Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Thursday. This is Gil and I are still going to be around our regular scheduled time, but with the news breaking on Jon Jones, just kind of wanted to throw a quick sports report out here for us. Uh, those of you that don't know, Jon Jones' second sample came back and it was positive. So his fight with Daniel Cormier has been turned to a no contest, and Daniel Cormier is now your UFC light heavyweight champion. Uh, Before we get too far here, my name is David Snipes. I'm from 7poundbag.com. Forgive me for not introducing myself there. But I do want to say I think this is a mistake by all parties. Obviously, Jon Jones made the biggest mistake, but still. I have a bit of a problem with Daniel Cormier accepting the belt. It doesn't make any sense to me. As I wrote yesterday when it first came out, Cormier has now won the championship 3 times and is yet to beat the guy that he succeeded. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, this is your time frame. Jon Jones beats Daniel Cormier. Jon Jones popped for drugs. Daniel Cormier becomes champion. Jon Jones beats Cormier. Jon Jones popped for drugs. Daniel Cormier is now champion. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. To me, it hurts the legitimacy of the belt. Yes, I know this is a real sport. Yes, I do understand you want a champion. Yes, I understand this isn't pro wrestling, but man, it's getting close. This is a Shawn Michaels type situation here. It's ridiculous. What Daniel Cormier needs to do is come out on UFC tonight. They need to kind of push this a little bit because UFC tonight is a fairly good show, and he basically needs to come out and Shane Douglas that thing. He needs to come out, throw it down, and say he's not going to be a paper champion. He's not going to take a belt that somebody just FedExes to him. He's not going to take a belt that Dana White just says, here. He wants to win it in the cage. He wants to win it the right way. He's always been a man that does things the right way. He wants to be a man that earns, is not given, and he's going to earn the championship, whether it be a 2, a 4, or an 8-man bracket. Now, our biggest problem is the 205 division is thin. I mean, the UFC 205, it is just razor freaking thin. And so, chatting with Gil a little bit, I kind of had the idea, why don't they just do an 8-man tourney? Take your top 8 guys, have them fight it out, crown an actual champion. You could do this over several pay-per-views and even culminate Super Bowl weekend if you wanted to. What this would do is actually get some of these lower level 205 guys, get them some name recognition, and you're probably still going to end up with Cormier versus Gustafsson. But anyway, let's take a look at the brackets that I came up with. And again, you're going to have to forgive me if I butcher these stinking names. You do actually have 2 fights that are scheduled among my 8 guys that I've got. The first one is Avi St. Preux versus Shogun Hua, which is fight night on September 23rd. I think that's a great night you could basically kick off this quote unquote tournament. Again, they're already booked. That's your opening weekend, so to speak. And they both fit in my top 8. Your next is Glover Teixeira versus Misha. Again, UFC Fight Night 119 in October. Again, hands up, who knows Misha? I actually do like him. I mean, I think he's kind of interesting. But again, this isn't exactly Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, Dan Henderson, Rampage. But I mean, Glover Teixeira's had a couple shots at the title. But again, if Misha wins, this does get him out there. And let's keep in mind, Daniel Cormier came in with a lot of hype. He made his name through the Strikeforce tournament. So, I mean, this does actually give you somewhere to go. The other side of the bracket are 4 guys that basically don't have fights scheduled. Of course, you've got Daniel Cormier versus Jimmy Manuwa. Jimmy is coming in off a loss, but again, you look at him as quote-unquote 8 seed, and I think he, unfortunately, with this thin division, he does fit. Your other your other part of this 4-fight bracket here is Alexander Gustafsson versus Volkan Cousin. Ozdemir. Pardon me if I butcher that, but anyway, the cousin. I think he's pretty awesome. Again, the other 2 are already booked. Cousin would be higher rated, in my opinion. They'll probably put him around the 4 seed. But again, with the other half basically taken, there you go. But I think those are 2 fights you could do. And if you actually get an upset, it's not Cormier Guffey. Glover and, again, whoever ends up winning that fourth fight, you get an upset there that actually does build somebody outside of Jimmy Manuwa. But if Misha or Cousin win, that actually does put another name to it. If they both lose, they could fight each other, and maybe you have a bottom 10 guy. But that's my bracket. I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, I would put in an 8-man bracket. You get a tournament, you get some excitement, you get something into the 205 division. Just because, think about it, if Misha walked in the door, how many normal UFC fans would know who he was? But you put him in a tournament. I mean, Glover's not exactly unbeatable. You know, he's not exactly Dan Henderson sitting out here. Misha could very easily win. You put Misha, he ends up fighting Guffey in round 2. At least it does do something because people do turn in for Guffey. But I do think that's what the UFC needs to do. Of course, they won't because Dana White just wants to throw a title out there. But I do think these are 4 fights that I wouldn't mind seeing. And let's face it, Jimmy Manuwa's not getting a title shot anytime soon. But let me know your thoughts on it. And just for shoots and giggles, let's look at Bellator. If Bellator went through the same situation, you actually do have 3 fights basically what would go at it. First one's Phil Davis. He's booked for Bellator 186 against unknown opponent. So whoever he's booked at, you could throw that there. Bellator 186 also has Ryan Bader versus Linton Bassel. King Mo versus Liam's also fighting. So there's 3 of your 4 fights right there. Fourth fight, how about we do Francis Carmel versus Chael Sonnen? How's that for your book? And yeah, Bellator's kind of thin at the end, but at least you do have some name guys. I mean, and that's not counting if Rumble Johnson or Rampage Jackson comes in these things. But yeah, you go Ryan versus Linton, Kingbo versus Liam McGarry, Francis Carmel versus Chael Sonnen, Phil Davis versus whoever he's facing. So I think that's also probably a more name recognition bracket for those of you that may know Bellator. But I do look at it, like I said, for those of you that think the UFC 205 is thin, that's how thin it was. Because to tell you the truth, I'd almost rather watch the Bellator one. Just because I'm not that huge a Daniel Cormier fan inside the cage. Outside the fan, I'm a big fan of him. But yeah, kind of look at that. Hey, look at it. At least we're not getting Emmanuel Newton back. But like I said, and if it's Phil Davis versus Rampage Jackson, that would be one heck of an eightsome. And of course, Anthony Rumble Johnson's could kind of sit there right after the UFC tournament and basically be the first title defense for whoever comes out of it. Even though, yes, we'd probably end up with Cormier versus Johnson once again for the title. But that's my thoughts. I'd like to see your feelings. Again, Gil and I will be back later on this week with our normal Combat Sports Report. Do want to thank you for listening. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell. By all means, leave us some feedback. But again, I am David Snipes from 7poundbag.com, and we will see you later. Thanks.